Hey everybody, how are we doing tonight?
Hey.
Hey Terry, so we have the honor of getting to talk about some of your great work experience, and
Yeah.
I've been wanting to talk about it. We've been talking a little bit offline,
hmm
but let's start with the regular casualties. How are you doing today?
I am doing absolutely tremendous. How about yourself, Jacob Waters?
Oh, I can't complain. Still
Yeah.
here, still kicking, still here.
Good.
No one to whine to anyway.
Yeah.
But let's
We have
see.
so much to talk about tonight.
Exactly. There's so much actually going on in wrestling.
hmm
There's your career that what I don't think we have talked about is how you got started with it and
Yeah.
what actually got you into the profession. And I'd like to know more about that, and you can kind of tell everybody else that doesn't know about you what your
Yeah.
profession is.
Yeah, totally. I'll give you a little expanded elevator speech on that. And hi again. My name is Terry
I do like your elevator speech, by the way. Very
Hopper.
good.
Yeah, maybe I'll say that one here later on. But
Okay.
my name is Terry Hopper, and professionally, I work as a professional wrestling referee. And professional wrestling, as in WWE, as in AEW, as in three ropes and four sides, or I've also worked in three ropes and six-sided ring as well. And tonight we're going to be talking a little bit about professional wrestling, and maybe even get into some spirituality and the time travel and who knows what else we can talk about tonight. But the way that I actually got started in professional wrestling is I've actually been a fan all of my life. And my parents were fans as well. So it's just kind of always been there. Growing up watching Hulk Hogan take on Andre the Giant and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and of course Macho Man Randy Savage were some old favorites. And what makes the story interesting, the next part here is I went to a local WWF event. WWF at the time, it's now WWE. Went to a local event, and there on the main card was Macho Man Randy Savage taking on the American Dream Dusty Rhodes. And I knew that it was such a spectacle to me, and it's just something that's stuck with me all of my life. And got a little bit older, and after high school, I went to another WWF show, this time up in Chicago. And it turned out that the hotel that I was staying at turned out to be the same hotel that all of the wrestlers were staying at.
Awesome.
And yeah.
That's so
And
lucky. No, it's so nice when something like that happens.
yeah. So just me being me, I struck up a conversation with someone there in the hotel lobby who at the time was waiting to meet with one of the actual agents there. And this gentleman turned out to be one of the local champions there for the pro wrestling promotion there in Chicago, which is one of the major promotions in the country at the time. And struck up a conversation. I told him that, hey, I have some background in radio and television broadcasting. And is there any opportunity? If there is, I'd really like to try out as a ring announcer. And this caught him off guard because he always gets people coming up to him and asking and saying, hey, I always wanted to be a pro wrestler. So here's this kid saying, hey, he wants to be a ring announcer. So I got some contact information, went up there to their studio, had a tryout, went very well. They hired me on the spot. I was hired as a ring announcer, and also did some other commentating with them, and learned that part of the business. And until one day, the promoter just said, with your size and your outgoing and your personality, why don't you try getting in that ring and refereeing a match or two? Just see what happens. So refereeing that one match became two matches, became 10 matches, became, hey, are you available on this date? And, oh, yeah, you're going to be refereeing every single match on the card. So then the learning just started impacting on and on and on.
So when do you think it turned for you though, and you were like, "This is awesome. I want to keep doing this." When do you think that switch came?
It it was when I had gotten my first VHS tape and of the performance, or one of our shows that we had, and it was me ring announcing, and I was watching it there at home on TV on the VCR. There's Terry Hopper there, he's ring announcing for the show. I knew right then and there, like I had already done this. If I can do this, I can keep on going. And you know what? It became obviously well worth it to pursue. And then the learning,
just meeting the people. Yeah. I was saying, just meeting the people that it sounds like you've met. It's just an honor all on its own. If you're a wrestling fan like we are, like me and you are a little more into it than most. But I feel like when you're that big of a fan, that company is great.
Right. Once you go back behind that curtain, you've taken a step that 99% of the audience will never even contemplate taking.
Oh yeah.
So
you don't think about it like that.
Yeah. And I mean, just on, watching that one tape of that one night of ring announcing just a couple of matches, because I was just a guest ring announcer. They didn't trust me to go out there all night long, and who can certainly blame them, being a noob and all. But one thing obviously leads to another, and it's always ever expanding. And I'm finding myself in places that I never would have, even beyond my wildest imagination, ever even begin to think about. And I've done some pretty amazing and incredible things. Traveled coast to coast, up and down, all over. It's such great memories. It's all such a blur.
That's the other thing we haven't really talked about is what's the travel like? Is it like the regular wrestler schedule where you're gone 300 plus days a year, moving around?
Yeah. I do have a home base here. Well, we actually live in the same state. I live just down south of you, and here in the state of Illinois, which makes it honestly really great because central location. I can get anywhere that I want to go to, and
that ties into the show that you're going to be doing here soon. That I need to get more info on.
Yeah. If I could plug this just a little bit here, coming up, not this Saturday, but the next Saturday, I'm going to be in Decatur, Illinois, at the Decatur, Illinois Civic Center, which is the exact same venue that I attended when I was young as a kid, as a fan. And it's going to be very special to me because I'm going to be in the middle of the ring refereeing some matches. Also going to have a special guest referee with me. He'll be there as well, refereeing some matches with me. And it's special to me because I've had a hand in training him. But the big story here is the main event, where it will be the badass Billy Gunn making his return to the Decatur, Illinois Civic Center in the main event. Fans, you do not want to miss it. Next Saturday night. So there you go, Jacob. There's a little.
So my other thing is that we didn't talk about. The reason I like Billy Gunn so much is because I was a big Shawn Michaels fan. DX years were some of my, like, I loved the Attitude Era. That was era. That was one of my favorite times. And Billy Gunn and the Road Dogg and X-Pac and China the best crew that I would want to watch. And I bet their shows probably were electric.
Yeah, he's a legend. And I've actually refereed a match before with Billy Gunn, and he's a great gentleman, both inside, outside the ring. He's going to put on a great match. I know that the fans there are in live attendance are really going to be happy with them. And one thing that's really great about this level of professional wrestling is the fans will actually be able to get an up close and personal meet with the competitors there, and even sign autographs for them and take some pictures.
Oh, they do like a meet and greet
about that.
They do like a meet and greet.
They will have a meet and greet set up. Yes.
Nice. That's even better.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to give me a little bit more info about this. I might have to take a little road trip.
Definitely, you're more than welcome to. I'll come on down.
So, we talked about how you got into wrestling. What would you say some of the significant relationships you've made throughout your career, people you've gotten to meet, stuff like that? What are the ones that stand out the most to you? Like as a fan and, and being involved, like what is it for you?
Yeah. Some really great connections that I made. Hi, Mud Rabbit, and hi, Divine Tiffany. I think they're both on right now and everything. Hello. Yeah. So some of the really great connections that I made is the ones that I made very early on in my career, and just seeing how those relationships actually, the feelings that we have towards one another, and how different they've become over the years, and how we grow together and how we grow apart as well, and even when we do grow apart, how we come back together. As they say, everything comes back full circle. One in particular, I won't mention his name, but he knows who he is a very good friend of mine, and he as well was a referee, and he still is, and he works for the #1 promotion in the world right now, and you could take a guess at which one that is. So we started out up in Chicago, working some of the indies there, and we actually met at a tournament there in Chicago, and it was what was called the Super 8 tournament, where essentially they took the best 8 wrestlers there in the greater Chicagoland area, and it may interest you to know that the winner of this tournament was none other than CM Punk.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
I could see at the time he was the Chicago poster boy when it came to the person that was going to be the next big thing.
Yeah, and this was exactly at that time, at this time period, because this was before he even went on, first of all, to Ring of Honor, long before WWE. And I met this referee, and we got to talking over Facebook. It began by trading some shows back and forth. It's like, hey, I'm already booked on this date, but there's this promotion over here. Can you cover this? And hey, what are you doing over here? Oh, we're working on the same show again now. So, but it also came down to, like, we had a little professional jealousy as it started out, because he was seeing me where I was getting the quality shows and the quality promotions, but I was seeing him, he was getting booked every week, where it really didn't matter where it was. Do what?
Was it seniority though? Is that why you were getting the draws that you were getting more than anything? And it was just maybe his experience wasn't there yet?
Just ever so slightly. It was like a horse race.
Okay.
In between the both of us at the same time, because we were on the indie level at the same time. He would actually go on to Ring of Honor, and I would get signed to Total Nonstop Action, which is the company with the 6-sided ring, if you remember that one. Yeah. So, but one thing leads to another, and it turns out he goes and works for the top company. And I get to have some very good opportunities that have come along from that, to where, where I'm at now, I do a lot of work behind the scenes, where I'm behind the curtain, working as, helping some of the newer wrestlers out, and giving them some pointers. And we have a couple of local promotions that I'm working with, to where we do just that.
Nice.
And yeah.
And so we got to dive into some of the Hollywood favorites that you've gotten to encounter as well. Like we've talked off air about Jerry the King Lawler. We actually haven't dove into the Al Snow story. I do want to hear more about that. And I bet there's more that you haven't even brought up yet.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So let's talk about the Al Snow story, because that happened actually at a very integral part in my career, where after I had gotten my start in my training and gotten several years in as a referee at this promotion up in Chicago, I took it upon myself to kind of just go out on my own and start, as they say, putting myself over and making some connections with some other promotions. And one of the very first names that I got to work with and referee for was Al Snow. And of course, I knew him from watching him in ECW and in WWE. He's very well traveled, very well seasoned. And what a lot of the fans may not even realize or know about Al Snow is he's actually a top level trainer to a lot of the wrestlers that you actually see on TV. So he's just a wealth of information and knowledge that I was actually very fortunate to have picked him up at the airport at O'Hare and transport him to the show. But before the show, he actually did something very important and something very interesting that a lot of people don't even really put consideration into. And that's, he actually took time to where he wanted to go to some of the area businesses, like the local mall there in town, and make himself seen, and just go around and just kind of drum up interest for the show. So I drove him around.
That's an old school mentality, you know, going and doing the radio shows, letting people know you're in town, and actually doing what you had to do back in the day in order to let people know you were around.
Yeah. So he was totally cool on that, and he took it upon himself to actually want to do that. So we drove around town, went to the mall, went to the shops, went to some other some of the bars, anywhere that we could think of. So yeah, he was really great about that, and immediately drew in a crowd. And just being able to share that time with him, especially being on the road, and picking his brain and hearing some of his stories and some of his philosophy. Like, I remember one thing in particular is how a wrestling match is even put together. It's like a road trip in and of itself, to where you might have a good idea what the finish is, and you might have a good idea how you might get there. Yeah. But just like any other road trip, you're gonna hit road construction.
And the good athletes, the legends that stay in the game the longest, are those people that are able to improvise. They have an end game, but at the same time, they're improvising through the whole fight, and they're working on the spot. Yeah.
You're getting it. You're getting it. And a lot of people I know, fans too, may not even necessarily understand that, where some fans might think that it's a step by step where they have it all choreographed back behind the scenes. Well, I assure you that's not
sometimes it is. I feel like sometimes it is based on the people's ability. Yeah, I feel like if the wrestlers don't have the ability to improvise, they have to have it staged out. Then it has to be a choreographed dance, which is also still hard to do. Then your memorization comes back to it. Yep.
And when your brain clicks out and you check out and you can't remember where you are, now what do you do?
Oh, yeah. Or you we were talking about this offline, taking bumps. You take a bump too hard and you get a little wobbled. And maybe you're not going to remember the rest of the routine.
Yeah.
That could always happen.
Yeah, well, here's a question that I always pose to some of the trainees and younger wrestlers that I work with, and I also want to pose it to the viewers there, and it's a very simple question. What is the whole point of a wrestling match?
Entertainment. I think in the most basic, at least in my idea. Mudriver, that's awesome.
Yeah. Virgil Runnels, aka Dusty Rhodes. I actually spent a little bit of time with Dusty Rhodes in the Total Nonstop Action promotion, which at the time was based out of Nashville, Tennessee. Which that is again the promotion that they got famous for having a 6-sided ring, which normal wrestling rings are 4-sided, but Total Nonstop Action had 6-sided. And seeing Dusty Rhodes there, again, it goes back to that memory of seeing him, as a kid perform. But there's Dusty Rhodes, sitting back behind the scenes, watching the matches. And
to connect the dots a little bit for everybody tuning in that doesn't have that, is
right.
it his nephew or is it his son that is kind of the face of the promotion?
His son.
Okay.
Yes. His sons actually are Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah. And so
in AEW, that's the promotion.
I was a big fan of Goldust, and how is he related to the family as well?
Yeah, Goldust is also known as Dustin Rhodes. He's the older brother to Cody, and he is the son of Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream.
Does he have any involvement in that wrestling promotion or no?
He does, yes. He's a backstage trainer, and he's also a current competitor. Because
I often put Goldust and Al Snow kind of in the same box, where I don't know necessarily if the WWF gave them the best gimmick to actually harness their abilities, and especially how good they were as performers. Like, I really think they undersold Goldust. I really think they undersold the head gimmick for Al Snow. That's actually what I wanted to ask you is, so that what the picture that I saw with you and Al Snow, he had the head.
Yeah, the mannequin head. Yeah.
Is that something that was outside of the WWE? Because I wonder if the WWE had the lockdown on that, copyright,
Yeah, the story behind that, and he's told it several times, so it's become, every time that he's told it, it's almost like an Andrew Bashago story or a Bob Lazar story, where every time he says it, it's the same story. Mm-hmm. So, and I can't necessarily speak for Al Snow on this, but from what I understand, he was trying to come up with a gimmick, and he was in ECW.
Yeah.
Or Extreme Championship Wrestling, which at the time was a regional promotion based in the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area, and they went up and down the East Coast.
Yeah,
and
the Paul Heyman special.
Yeah. Paul Heyman, the manager of Brock Lesnar in today's times. It was the promoter and the head honcho.
He also does one of the major WWE radio shows now. I don't remember what it's called, but he's the co-host of that as well. Paul Heyman's still pretty active in the WWE.
Yeah. So Al Snow was in ECW, and in ECW, like many of the indie levels or the regional territories, the performers are given a lot more freedom to where they can explore their creativity and come up with ideas and things that just try out on their own. And he found this mannequin head, and he just started using it, and it started getting over, and pretty soon it just became this big deal to where ECW as a promotion for their big pay-per-view, their big showcase show, they went out and bought like 1,000 of these styrofoam mannequin heads, and they passed them out to everyone in the audience, so that when you saw it on TV, it was just this big party where everyone is shaking these mannequin heads, and these strobe lights are going off, and everyone's partying and having a great time. And of course, this is professional wrestling. It is supposed to be fun, and everyone's supposed to be having a great time. And of course, you want to spend your money on a ticket to come and have a great time at this show.
Exactly.
Welcome to pro wrestling.
Yeah, no, I like a lot of the characters that we got from the ECW and their own creative genius in coming up with their characters. I feel like the ECW was really I think ECW outperformed the WCW when it came to what they were doing for the money spent. Yeah, and because the WCW had Ted Turner just dropping massive amounts of money to get these celebrities on air, and they were coming up with these matches that weren't always the best entertainment.
Yeah,
but I had a love-hate relationship for the WCW, but ECW, it was that middle ground between the UFC and the WWE. Like there was a little hardcoreness to that, especially being a fan of like Mankind and Cactus Jack and like the original hardcore guys. I think ECW paid a good tribute to that. Whether you're talking about the Dudley Boys, whether you're talking about Rob Van Dam, whether you're talking about one of my favorites, New Jack,
Jerry Lynn.
Yes, Jerry Lynn.
Yeah.
The blue beast. I can't remember.
The blue meanie. The blue meanie.
The blue meanie. Yes. Yeah. Oh man, there's and then their encounters with the WWE when they tried to integrate were so interesting because there was some people that did not want to integrate, and there were some that definitely were digging their feet in the sand about being part of the promotion, and a lot of them guys,
and there are guys that, no matter how good you are, no matter what you do, you just aren't connecting with the audience. And ECW, obviously, it was what's called a niche market where it's more hardcore and it's geared more towards the super fan, that's into the edgy type of wrestling and story of what they have there. But of course, WWE, they're more family geared, more towards the kids
nowadays. I feel like they go through circles and it circles back just like everything else. The Attitude Era, I feel like that was the time they probably had the most teenager and kid viewers. Yeah. But at the same time, they were selling sex, and that was the market at the time. It was the entertainment that people were buying.
Yeah, times were different than they are now. Yeah. Now it's obvious where WWE is positioning themselves as a family-oriented product, and AEW, rightfully so, is going after the younger generation, and it's becoming just a well-orchestrated. And I totally get exactly where you're coming from in thinking that maybe Vince McMahon orchestrated this whole thing to where you have WWE.
This was off line talk. This is off line talk. We gotta catch everybody up. So there's multiple.
How did I know this was going to be good? Bring this up.
There's multiple wrestling factions. Whether it's TNA. Whether it's the AEW or the ones that are still in business right now. And I'm convinced that Vince McMahon is orchestrating the drama that's going on in these other businesses, and they're trying to act like they're all separate entities, when in reality it's another WWE Vince McMahon orchestration that people don't really know is going on.
Okay. I'm with you on that theory. My question is this: at what point in time did the orchestration start? What your theory anyway? I mean,
I know. I know the blueprint for it. The blueprint is WCW and ECW integrating into the WWF.
Okay,
that's the blueprint.
So WrestleMania 17, then.
Yes. Okay. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So if you have that blueprint, could you do it in reverse and start an attack against other promotions and try to act like you're trying to take them down and everything else? I feel like, man, it would be so well done. It seems like it's definitely in Vince's ballpark where he's capable, but I don't have enough supporting evidence yet.
Very.
I could see all of them being good enough actors where they could pull it off. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if we talked about this before either. That's the one thing I do like about Vince McMahon. The other one's Dana White, and honestly Donald Trump as well. These three work together, correlating with the WWF, correlating with the UFC. These three gentlemen work together and are great businessmen, and all kind of set up the same platforms when it comes to how they're going to release their entertainment, whether it's starting their own channels, whether it's the WWE network and the UFC network and stuff like that have gotten so big and, created such a division between all of these other networks. It's almost gotten to the point where the WWF is almost making it harder to get, like, you miss out on good characters, I think.
Yeah. Hey, Jacob, I just sent you on the private check. Check that out. Not right now, later. Just
Okay.
and it's food for thought on where you're going.
Okay.
And I'll leave it at that.
Let me give you some examples of characters that I think got away.
Oh,
my favorite reference is Booker T.
Yeah,
I think he was somebody that could have been amazing in the WWF.
Oh yeah, I'll share with you just real quick.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
the floor is yours.
Oh my goodness, I got to give you my I was there story with Booker T. Okay, because this is coming from a fan standpoint. I was there at St. Louis Arena. What was it called? I believe the Savvis Center. But yeah, the major hockey arena in St. Louis. I was seated just one row down from the very, very, very top. You see where my hands are? Like, the very, very top? I was seated just one row down from the very top at Royal Rumble 2012.
Ooh. How big is that? Like, how many people are you talking in there? Royal Rumbles are huge.
Jam-packed. And it was sold out. And I know it was sold out for a fact because, again, I was just one row down from the very tip top. Okay? Like, if I was up any top higher, it'd be one row up, then I'd be touching the ceiling, literally. Okay? Sold out. And throughout the evening, everyone would stand up, applaud, and, that's great and nice and all. But, you have to understand, being where we were up on the very top, we weren't necessarily standing up and applauding and cheering for everything, right? Because we're just too far away from the action. So we only stood up twice throughout the whole show. And the first time was for CM Punk, who was at the time the WWE champion. So of course
that was during the infamous the mic drop situation.
Yeah. Oh, he was on fire then, white hot. So yeah, and plus he's also the champion, so you stand up in respect for the champion making their entrance, right? Sure. And then when Booker T made his surprise entrance, he was sitting there at ringside doing commentary. And, of course, can you dig it, sucker? Blaring all over the speakers. The roof just blew off the entire arena, and everyone is just standing because we were all in unison thinking, knowing, goodness, what if this is it? Booker T goes all the way. He wins the Royal Rumble. He goes on to WrestleMania. He becomes WWE champion. He makes right with history and becomes the first African-American WWE champion. Why can't we have that?
No,
I'm with you, Mr. Watt.
The WWE would rather take a title away from the WCW champion that was coming in, the WCW champion, and they actually tried to do a racial spin on an argument with him and another competitor.
I won't go on that.
We don't have to. But,
I comprehend.
It's weird how they buried that.
Yeah,
it's weird. It's weird that they took that route when you had such a great character and great personality to use.
Yeah.
Booker T would have sold so much. He was selling more merchandise than most WCW wrestlers, besides maybe Goldberg, who we talked about for a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Man. Rob Van Dam is always another one. I think he got a little bit of shine in the WWE, but I think he was another one of those guys that, God, just wasn't utilized like he could have been.
Yeah.
He was such a great athlete.
A fun fact about Rob Van Dam, I actually refereed his last independent match before he signed to WWE.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Back in
what promotion would that have been under, or was just not a promotion?
It was back in early 2001 up in Hammond, Indiana at the Hammond Civic Center for the Windy City Pro Wrestling promotion.
Nice.
Yeah. And that was also the company that I got my start with. And at the time, we had an argument where, or at least when ECW was actually running good and strong, is we were the number 4 promotion in the country. And that was number 4 behind WWE, WCW, and ECW, because Windy City Pro Wrestling, it was based in Chicago, which is the 3rd largest market. And we were drawing crowds of, in excess of 1,000 people. And we were also there on TV. So we were able to score Rob Van Dam for a one-time appearance. And it was fantastic. 45-minute long Broadway match. What an experience.
I've always thought of...
Speaking of RVD.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to go into that. Is he was very groundbreaking when it comes to being, that fourth wall breaker in wrestling. He was a very normal person as well as a professional wrestler. That was a disconnect that a lot of people didn't get, and I didn't see that again until you saw somebody like CM Punk, and that was I compared their styles, but I gotta bring up what Mud Rabbit said. She said, "Jacob, you gonna be a wrestler? I'd come to that match." No, I wasn't. I don't have a match set up or anything like that. Yes, I would love to do something like that, but I wouldn't make the assumption that I would be good at it, because that is a very tough job. But no, we were talking about refereeing.
Anytime you're ready, Jacob, to step in the ring, I have a training school that I can get you hooked up with, and we can get you in there.
Oh, Terry, you are telling me things I shouldn't know at my age. If you would have caught me 10 years earlier, I would have. I would be living it. Now I feel like
I hear you. Yeah, I hear you. And you know what's very fun now is the point in my life that I'm at is physically speaking, I'm a bicentennial baby. I was born in '76 and got started in professional wrestling when I was back out of high school in college years, and spent a lot of time in it. But then I got to a point where I needed to take some time off. Quit cold turkey. Took 8 years off to kind of build my own company, my own business. I have a company here where we produce weddings and other special events, corporate events, and I focused on that. And then, you're absolutely right. You're not as young as what you used to be. And I came back, and there's something called ring rust. And had to get that off.
That's definitely a thing. Any time off in any profession. I mean, I feel like, oh gosh, that time away is detrimental. And you could be, if you were still involved, that's the one thing I learned about sports, whether it was mixed martial arts or anything, is that time you're taking off, not only are you not staying active, but you're not picking up on the new things that everybody else is learning as well. Because there's usually something else being implemented during the time that not a lot of other people know about unless you're involved with it.
Yeah, but one thing that I did notice is I took 8 years off, and it was one of those things where I actually had to ask one of my good friends of mine, like, it was because it was like waking up out of a coma after I came back. Like, how long was I out for? And he said, Terry, you haven't been in a ring in 8 years, because, I didn't watch it, didn't do anything with it until I just... started getting that bug again. It's in the bloodstream. It is. And I came back with a local company here, got back in the ring, and started running the ropes, and took a choke slam from someone, took that bump again for the very first time, and all over again. And it feels like your body's in a car wreck. And that's how the body reacts to it. And then you just have to train your mind. Okay, no, you weren't in a car wreck. You were in a wrestling match, and you're going to be just fine. You dust yourself off, get back up. So
we have a local promoter in our town that he's got his own ring that a lot of people pay to use, and I got to set it up with him once. And I was about 16 at the time. And oh yeah, the second I got it up, I was bouncing off the ropes, going into the other side. Oh, I was a kid in a candy store. There's something about that environment. It reminds me of a football player putting on their pads. They just turn into this different character, and all of a sudden they're doing actions that you wouldn't expect them to do. Like they go into this mode, and it's amazing. It's a great time.
Yeah,
I've only been to one event. I'm jealous of the things that you've gotten to see. Not jealous. I'm happy for you because that other people got to experience these. Yeah.
You know, and I'm blessed.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, there really is no other way of putting it. I'm absolutely blessed to be where I'm at, really. And there's no other way of describing that, Jacob. There really isn't.
Mud Rabbit, I gotta address that. So, you said she said she can make some costumes. She said she's good at that. You just gotta let her know. I already got it out. I gotta get a posse though. We'll be like Captain Crunch and the Serial Killers or something like that.
That's your gimmick name. We got it.
There, I like it. Sold. There might be some copyright issues, but it'll be a spelling change.
You're right. Yeah. But do they own that copyright for professional wrestling use? No, of course they don't.
There you go.
Right.
Well, we were talking about something you were talking about earlier reminded me of. Do you ever remember watching the Tough Enough series that they had with the WWE?
Yeah, with Bart Gunn was in that, and went up against it. Yeah, and it led to him against Butterbean. Yeah.
Oh man, what's his name? Holly was involved in it too, and he was a little intense.
Hardcore Holly.
Hardcore Holly, Bob Holly.
Yeah. He has a that legit tough, background to where you'd be stupid to mess with him, kind of. Yeah.
Well, some of these people that came from these old school wrestling schools, they're like, no, regardless if you made it on this TV show, you're never going to be. And I felt like that's another example of a character that didn't make it through. What kind of push did you see on Maven after all of these things? Like, he turned into the Michael Cole of wrestling. And he was just kind of background noise.
But he eliminated The Undertaker from the Royal Rumble, and you think he's really going to go somewhere because they had this whole thing. They had this whole program.
That push wasn't directed right.
Months and months and months and months of taking a whole series of guys here, and we get down to one guy who's the best here. You think he's going to go on and win championships and do stuff and things, but then what does it really come down to? Was it WWE just stop pushing Maven, or did Maven just come to a point in and of himself in actual reality to where he can't go on and continue to whatever they had planned and intended for him? So it becomes what both sides of the same coin here. What actually happened?
That sounds like a interesting Russo storyline that I think is going nowhere. if you get that reference.
Yeah.
There's always been some writers in the WWE that I did not necessarily agree with when what they wanted to do with these athletes and the entertainment that they were trying to present.
Right. Yeah. And I comprehend where you're coming from. There are writers involved, and there are people involved that want to create storylines and get the competitors from point A to point B. Usually that point A to point B is someone becoming a champion, or someone that is a champion and they're no longer going to be a champion after this. Right? So,
like we were talking about earlier, those real professionals are improvising and telling the story in the match. Just like yourself, you are helping tell the story. You are part of the performance. I don't care what anybody says. A bad referee cannot be part of the performance, but a good referee is the one that's on the main card. He's the one selling the fight just like everybody else is and showing his involvement. It's there's levels to it. And I don't think it comes down to these writers, but they want it to be their responsibility. And that's where I feel like sometimes it's a power struggle.
It is.
And
Yeah.
just like I've seen Vince McMahon come up with some gimmicks that were just, gosh, we don't have to go down that road, but
there's a website. It's actually very popular with fans as well as competitors in the locker room. It's again very popular. It's called WrestleCrap.com, and it's a website that's been around for a very long time. And it's a website that I'll go to every so often just to get some laughs. And it covers all of the worst in professional wrestling, like the gimmicks that you just really want to forget about or you're embarrassed about. But it's like this actually happened, and here's the whole history that goes along with it. And they honestly do a very good job of it. They did their homework and they have their history on that. So, yeah, I haven't watched it one time, but when I was a teen, every Sunday I watched World Wrestling from Florida. Yeah, some good competitors down there. That's a good regional promotion from back in the day.
We haven't talked about that. That just reminded me. There's so many good regional promotions that got turned into Vince McMahon eventually snatched them all up, but for the longest time, I mean, they were all running in their own districts. Everybody had their world champion. And they would travel around and do these things and that's what we got to talking with Aaron Moriarty about. He was more into that old school wrestling where that's where they were doing, and it was like that tough man competition of the time, really.
Right. Yeah. Well, you can bring up a more modern standard of ECW, like we talked earlier. Before they were Extreme Championship Wrestling, they were Eastern Championship Wrestling because they were up and down the Eastern Seaboard, Philadelphia, Maryland, New York, up and down there. Then you have what Mud Rabbit just mentioned is down in Florida. And of course, there's Georgia Territory. I used to watch as a kid. Very fun times. Yeah, Tiffany. Hey. And of course, Midwestern states, Texas, World Class Championship Wrestling with the Von Erichs. Yeah,
Von Erichs were the man. So that's the other thing I would love to drop. If everybody gets a chance and they like these old wrestling stories and you like hearing some of the backstory that wasn't presented on TV, the one I like to present the most is WrestleLamia on YouTube. They do some of the best documentaries. Vice is now trying to redo basically all of WrestleLamia's interviews and documentaries that they've done.
Yeah. Funny how that worked out, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Well, I think they got a bunch of copyright issues sent down from the WWE, and I think now the WWE is linking up with Vice and doing some of these things. So they wanted to. And it's such a shame that these creators on YouTube had to pick up the ball where I feel WWE slacked off. If I can straight shoot here, is they really missed out on what the WWE network could have been. This is just my opinion here. Well, because the only backstory that they wanted to tell was an orchestrated one. They wanted that separateness, but at the same time, people wanted to know about the drama in the locker room. People wanted to know about how these situations, occurred the way they did.
And I'm certainly one of them. That's what I experienced. That's what I watched as a kid. That's what obviously influenced me. So as a performer, I would like to go back and do that history, not only with the eyes that I had as a kid, but now with more adult eyes, as well as my professionally experienced eyes, to where I can see, some other things of what's going on here and obviously learn from it.
But yeah, that's why I was pushing that for everybody. If you want to know about the Von Erichs and how all these industries became what they are today, there's great information out there for people to check out. And my favorite one that we were talking about earlier is the New Jack story. How this this character, I guess New Jack is just New Jack. I don't think he's a character.
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point where he's one of the realest wrestlers or realest people. I don't even know if I would call him a wrestler at all points. Mm-hmm. At some points, I think he is different than a wrestler. I think he's just himself. And,
and you know, one thing I just want to comment real quick on that is one thing that I'm noticing, especially with the newer generation of competitors and wrestlers that are coming in, is they're actually understanding this to where they're not necessarily playing a character, but it's just more of an extended aspect of who they really are in person, in real life, or what they do. I'll give you an example of a gentleman that I'm working with, a young up-and-comer competitor by the name of Clayton Clark. In real life, what's that?
Sounds familiar. Clayton what?
Clayton Clark.
Okay.
Yeah, and he is the sheriff of Shotgun City, and he's essentially a cowboy. And in real life, he lives on a farm, and he also works as a processor at a meat packing place. So he's a cowboy, both in real life and outside the ring. So it all works out. So yeah, New Jack is a bounty hunter, and I mean, he's just an all-around goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Like he'll take people in. Like he will do people in. Like,
oh yeah, you do not like, and that's those are the stories that I actually like to hear about when it comes to wrestling, is not just, you know, the hardcore side where it got, you know, as far as it got with New Jack, but also these guys that don't want to sell in the match, and all of a sudden they're taking real bumps. They're not taking fake bumps anymore. They're getting real punches. Yeah. And all of a sudden somebody like yourself is dealing with something that they're like, okay, I still have to go along with this. I can't stop the action because of what's going on. Right. That's why I brought up New Jack, and we talked about offline. I think we talked about some of the safety things that referees have to know in these situations.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the time now. It's after 8 o'clock, so we can go on a little bit more mature level here. It's a wrestling match is more real than what anyone who has never stepped foot into those ropes will ever get a credit for being. And you're absolutely right. If you're not selling the chops that I'm giving you across the chest, because I guarantee you, Jacob, you're going to feel it. It won't hurt. I promise. It'll make a sound. It'll make a pop. It will leave a mark on your chest. But I'm not going to kill you. That being said, if you don't react to it, I will smack you, and you will feel it. Because otherwise, if you don't, you're not only making me look bad, you're making yourself look bad, and you're not getting things over here. So what are we doing here in the first place?
Well, and then there's both sides of it. There's the undersell, and then there's the oversell, which a lot of people don't take into aspect in these kind of performances. Is like you'll get a match with like Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
all of a sudden Shawn Michaels is taking a hit and he's bouncing out of the ring from a small slap that should not do that to him. Mm-hmm. But like you get these oversells on legends, and like there's this hierarchy that goes on that a lot of people don't get to see when they're just looking at the entertainment side of it. And that's what I like to dig into, is this locker room chemistry, as well as which wrestlers you want to work with, which ones you don't. I like hearing all of these interviews and stories with past wrestlers about that. Bringing it all together.
Okay. Here's something real that I can give you. The other referee that is going to be joining me on the show in Decatur next Saturday, I had a pretty big hand in helping to get him to a more standard professional level. He had already had the basics down of as a referee. Then there comes a level of what we call official. Okay. It kind of goes with what you talked about earlier about how a bad referee can just make a really great match just suck instantly, right? Yeah. So I had a good hand in helping train him and help bringing him up on the level, and I taught him how to what's called politicking their way through, the muddy waters, as it were, or as it is, because there is obviously, you have a locker room filled with individuals that they have their own ideas, they have their own and they have their own creativity. That's certainly not a bad thing. It's a
and just think about all these athletes; they all have their own process of that creativity.
Right.
Some of them have different routines that they're doing before they go out. Some of them want to, practice with each other and figure out what their routine's going to be. And just like we said, some of them wing it. Some of them are able to improvise on the spot, and So just like any other sport, these matchups are actually really important. When bringing these athletes together.
Yeah, and as far as choosing who you want to have a match with, or work with, or work against, it really comes down to who have you interacted with in, just generally speaking, in the locker room. There's also practice sessions where you'll have what's called an open ring time. This is usually before a show, where the ring will already be set up by the crew, and you'll have a couple of hours to where guys can just simply go into the ring and work out, run the ropes like you did, maybe take a bump or two, and just interact, and really go from there. As well as what does a promoter, that outside observer standpoint, what is the outside observer looking at, and what are the stories that the promoter wants to sell, and because it comes down to selling tickets.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, by the way, I'd like to actually answer the question that I asked earlier on what's the whole point of a wrestling match. What were some of the answers that we already got?
I think Mud Rabbit said entertainment, and I think we got a couple other ones in. I wasn't sure what they all were, but most of the agreements were entertainment, entertaining the viewer.
Right. That's a great answer. It's actually a very well thought out answer, and it's also something that from a fan standpoint I can certainly comprehend and even understand, and also appreciate, because that it is about the entertainment. However, taking you back behind the curtain here, the whole point of a wrestling match is to pin your opponent's shoulders to the mat for a referee standardized count of 3, or make them tap out or submit. That's the point of a wrestling match.
So I was in wrestling for 21 years, and I would say the purpose of a pro wrestling match and a wrestling match are different intentions. But I do believe that is the end goal of the people involved.
Okay, I'll give you
otherwise, why do we have like the out of ring experience, whether it's the hardcore matches, your boiler room matches, like those aren't necessarily intended for pinfall.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And you're getting into the fun and games aspect, as I like to call it. But something there's a standpoint that I'd like to bring up with you is something that a lot of the more old school wrestlers that I've talked with and interacted with in the locker room, they come at this. And let me see if this resonates with you. This saying. Wrestling, and that goes for all wrestling, pro wrestling, amateur wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling, wrestling from the literal Greco-Roman days all the way back to whatever Abraham.
That's what I tell people all the time. Wrestling is the world's oldest sport.
Right. Okay, wrestling is real. Everything else is all.
No, that's perfect. You skipped out a little bit. Wrestling is what?
Wrestling is real. Everything else is all a work.
Okay, I like that. No, that does resonate.
Yeah.
Well, and because regardless of outcome, what's going on in front of you is real.
Right. Okay.
There's no doubt in that.
Right. So let me take you from there. Okay. Let's take Andre the Giant, for example. And I believe that maybe you have a picture that I shared with you earlier. If you want to bring that up while I tell this story, Andre the Giant, very famous wrestler that everyone knows and everyone can identify with. Because he was a literal giant. He was also in the movie The Princess Bride, which is a very popular movie. But you think about Andre the Giant. And again, you go back to the concept of what's the point of a wrestling match? It's to pin your opponent's shoulders to the mat for a referee's count of 3. Okay. How do you, Jacob Waters, take down Andre the Giant, get him down onto the mat, and how are you going to get on top of him and stay there for a count of 3? How can you do that?
I would say for me, what I've learned from actual wrestling is it's a matter of taking somebody off their feet when they're larger than you. So wrestling, it's just like the same mentality as football, is get lower than your opponent and try to take them out from their base.
Right. Okay, so what's legal in pro wrestling that isn't legal in football that can take someone off their feet? A chop block.
Oh, a chop block is illegal in wrestling?
Yeah. You can do a chop block in wrestling. That's where you can come up from behind them and do a shoulder tackle to the back of their knee.
It's still legal. You just got to distract the referee.
No, you can do a chop block right in front of a referee.
Oh, okay.
At least in professional wrestling. So now that you have him down on your knees, okay, you got him on his knees. Now what do you do?
Let's see. I would break them down from their base.
Yeah.
Hi, Maria. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. So now you're getting into the real aspect of pro wrestling and how professional wrestlers look at a match. They look at their size of each other and experience of each other. So you move from there and try to figure out, okay, I have these skills and you have those skills. How can we put them together? How do they mesh? How do they go against each other? And now you have a match. And who figures it out? Well, probably Andre the Giant's going to win because he's Andre the Giant and he's bigger and more experienced than everyone else. But
that's the one thing I had a disconnect with some older wrestling is they had these spectacle wrestlers like Andre the Giant, who a lot of wrestlers would say in private he was impossible to work with. He was that guy that wasn't going to sell any of your moves because he was the Giant. He was that guy that was supposed to be the most dominant person in the ring, and you were supposed to bounce off of him. You weren't going to impact him. It was part of the sell,
unless you earned it. Unless you earned it and you earned his respect and you were able to prove yourself in the ring. You usually, obviously, there's certain steps to get up to even competing against Andre the Giant in the first place. You have to go through a whole roster to begin with to even be considered there.
Well, yeah, just think about the few stars that actually got to compete against Andre the Giant. Like your only big wrestlers are what? Hulk Hogan, a few others. Like it's your top level, sells. It's nothing less.
Exactly. Who's selling tickets? Who's popular with the fans, and who are the fans connecting with, and who do they want to see?
Sorry, I didn't mean to stop that. I was going to show that picture for you. But, the other thing, but when we were talking about referees, is we were talking about how it's important to sell the fight, and I think the best example is the one that the WWF actually gives you, or the WWE actually gives you, when they have their guest referees that want to not pay attention, or like their job is to be a bad referee in that cell. And you can actually see the direct impact of it.
Mm-hmm.
whether you're having Mike Tyson come in and referee a match, or Shawn Michaels is turning away and not paying any attention.
Right.
I never got to ask you about this. The one character I've always wanted to meet, which I thought just had the most presence.
Yeah.
Stone Cold.
Stone Cold Steve Austin. Yeah.
It would have been electrifying to be in the arena when he was doing his thing.
Right. I attended as a fan a Monday Night Raw up in Chicago at what is now the Allstate Arena, and it was during the Rock Austin era, and just the absolute massive pop and heat that you could just feel throughout the entire arena, where everyone is just all acting in unison and just totally on board. It's like we're throwing all of our energy to this guy who's going around and just cheering and, just full of so much energy that something great is about to happen. You don't know what, you just know something great is going to happen within the next 2 to 3 minutes. Just wait. Watch. See, I told you.
No, I was just recently listening to his Skull podcast. I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah. The Skull Ranch.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was referencing the run that he had with The Rock, and there was a specific match that he was referencing where he took 3 rock bottoms and he was supposed to keep getting back up. Like it was just like we were talking about. You get these 2 stars that are just so big in the industry, and they're able to do their special moves to each other, and it doesn't do anything. They're not affected, and that's this whole selling and giving people the push when you don't know who's getting the push all the time. The fans are still waiting to figure out who's supposed to be the fan favorite. You're learning as you go. It's really interesting,
and it also gives the fans just that little extra that they weren't even expecting.
Exactly.
Yeah. Give them just that little bit more, and give them way more than their money's worth. It's like I know for a fact that on next Saturday night, for those in attendance, I guarantee you're going to see a pay-per-view level match. At least one of those matches is going to be a pay-per-view level match, in addition to all of the other matches are going to be really great up and down the card, and it's going to be a fun time. And Jacob, I'm actually seeing a picture of me in the referee stripe.
Is that the one that you wanted me to show?
Yeah. That's a picture of me in the referee stripes, taking a standard selfie in front of a wrestling ring. And there's actually a special story to that, because that wrestling ring is originally from the Minneapolis-St. Paul, Minnesota area, where it was at one time owned by the Ganyas for the American Wrestling Association promotion, of which we bring it up because there's a certain connection with one of our friends, Aaron Moriarty, who hosts his own show on the Truth Quest channel. And I just wanted to show off that ring, because that ring, it is now owned by a company based in Odon, Indiana. And they have a show usually about once every month in the Odon, Indiana Community Center. And it's a small, intimate show. I usually have maybe a couple hundred people every time that we have a show there. Really good, solid talent, and some good up-and-coming talent. And what makes it just so great and special is the fact that this ring, the new owners, they actually were the ones that went up to Minnesota to get this ring from the Ganyas and bring it back down here. And once they got it, they took a lot of time and care to clean it and repaint it, reconstruct it, put on all new ring aprons and ring canvas, to where it is back up to television quality now. And it's one thing that we're very happy about. We're very proud of, because a lot of time and care was put into keeping the history alive with this professional ring, especially because, again, Andre the Giant has competed in countless main events in this professional wrestling ring. And in addition to all of the other countless other legends, and to be able to compete in it, it's again, it's a television quality ring, and the ring size, it's huge. You got to be in this ring to really see it. Again, it held Andre the Giant, so it's 19 and a half feet by 19 and a half feet, and I don't know what, 4.5 feet off the ground there. So it's really a sight to behold, and of course our competitors really love it, and I love refereeing in that ring too. So yeah, it just again wanted to bring that up with the Aaron Moriarty connection,
which we'll have to get into a little bit more here shortly. The Aaron Moriarty connection.
Yeah, definitely.
But gosh, I was just going to add, there's something to, at least to us fans, the idea of getting in that same ring that all of these other people were in. There's something that you really can't put a price on. There's this iconic feeling of being able to be in the same presence of these greats.
Well, actually, I can put a price tag on it, because when I first started out in wrestling, they hired me as a ring announcer. Okay, we're talking about when I first started out. This was years ago, back in like late 90s. Okay, so when I first started out as a ring announcer, they hired me. They paid me. Then after it became a point of, hey, we'll actually use you on shows as a referee, but you gotta pay us to go through school first. So that's how it works. It's like going to college or entertainment school or clown school. It's professional wrestling school, but I went through the school there, and obviously it is a serious school. They teach you how to act in the ring. They teach you, first of all, how to protect yourself and how to protect the people that you're working with and how to work properly. And that price tag was $2,500.
Wow. I mean, and then like looking at all the different wrestling schools, they all of them hold a price tag.
Yeah.
And they all have to do with different greats in different regions, like we were talking about before. Yep. Where you get who's the famous old woman wrestler that had her school that was kind of
Fabulous Moolah?
Yes.
Yeah.
She had the infamous
tragedy that is. Yeah.
She had quite the infamous school.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Well, I mean, you do see this where in a profession that's that big, you do see people taking advantage of people coming up in the business.
Yeah. There is that out there, and which
they're leaving the professional industry with that same mentality of, I've already done more things than this person that I'm training, so this person needs to earn their bumps in order to be in the same ring with me.
Right.
I mean, and it's a dangerous mentality when you're training people.
Yeah.
And you're not actually performing with them on a big scale.
Right. So, and that's what I wanted to bring up too, is because when I mentioned earlier that, hey, I know of a school that, hey, if you want to step in the ring and see what it's like, I can certainly arrange that. I want to bring
I'm going to have to take you up on your offer. I already know I'm going to.
That's fantastic. Well, I wanted to let you know that it won't necessarily cost you $2,500. It may cost you just absolutely nothing, because I happen to work with a professional wrestling school in Noble, Illinois, which is a small town. And if you come to that school with a good heart, good intentions, and a good open mind, and your mind and heart is in the right place, we'll get you in the ring. We'll get you in the ring, and we'll show you a few things. And it's something else that I want to add too, is every Tuesday night in Noble, Illinois, from 7 o'clock to around 8:30, we actually have shows that we host there, and admission price for these shows is only $2. But you get a great show, and you even get some top level performers. And one of the highlights that I've really always enjoyed with working on the show in this promotion is usually sometime in the middle of the show, we bring in some trainees. And rather than the promoter lying to you and, let's say, putting these wrestlers under a hooded mask to where you don't know who they are and having another guy just go out there and just absolutely destroy them, we do something a little bit different where we will actually tell you these guys are trainees. They're on this level. And tonight they're learning this, or here's their challenge. And they have to do it in a very limited amount of time, usually 2 minutes. And there's their challenge. Good luck. If you win the match, great. If not, well, you tried and you got your 2 minutes in. So it's one thing that I actually enjoy very much. And I've seen several trainees now who have actually become performers, and not only performers, but now they're traveling around to other promotions, and they're even becoming champions now. And it's really, and not only that, they're getting paid on top of that now too. So it's something that is a lot of fun, but it's something that you have to have the right mind for it and the right heart for it, so and be willing to train for it.
Oh yeah, it's a commitment. It is a full commitment.
Yeah.
I wanted to. I don't know if I told you about this. I have a friend of mine that I went to high school with that kind of sparked my interest in this again, as well as yourself, and in the sense that I just found out that he started refereeing, and I wanted to show this, if you don't mind. Just to see if you know the venue and see if you know the group that he's refereeing with or anything like that, because he's got the venue in the background. I'll just give one of his pictures, but his name's Derek, and I went to school with him. That's up in the Chicagoland area. American Wrestling Alliance, something like that. I haven't worked for that promotion, but I've heard a lot of really good things about it. And some of the shows I've seen him perform in and be part of, he reminds me a lot of yourself, the way he sells these fights, and it's very good. Right. I mean, I do know they're on a very top level promotion up there. They essentially took over where Windy City Pro Wrestling left off. Yes. So, they're the top promotion up there. Yeah, definitely. Let me show one more just to give my buddy a little bit of credit. But definitely. I like seeing that. I'm so proud to see him out there doing what he loved as well. And he's definitely getting involved with it a lot more, and he's getting onto some of the main cards a lot more now. That's excellent. Yeah, he has a good stance here in this photo. Oh yeah, like the facial expression. He's looking straight on at the action. He's ready to go. And by ready to go, it's like you see an outfielder in baseball and how their stance is, like, are ready to move left or right. You know, where are you going to go? Where are these guys going to go? Because, you know, they might be zigging when you think they're going to zag. So, yeah, good luck. And and good luck to them, definitely. Sounds like you have fun, Terry. That is so awesome. Thank you, Tiffany. Yeah, I love my work. Terry is going to get us interested in wrestling again. Good. You know, make wrestling great again, Terry. Come on. It's always been great. All right. Going all the way it has its ups and downs, just like any other cycle. We can go back to Gorgeous George and George Hackenschmidt and Jack Lanza and all, even back then, you know. I'm just catching up the chat a little bit. Elegant Mind, who is your favorite professional wrestler? If you have one, or we've talked about everything from wrestling to different wrestling promotions. You might not like the WWE, you might like WCW, you might like ECW. There's a billion of them out there. or well, not currently out there, but that have existed that a lot of people fall in love with.
Yeah, and it's great too. And kind of going back on your theory, I will give you this, that earlier I mentioned that, I took some time off. I took like 8 years off. Well, one of those is, I just got to the point where it's like I just need time off, just for my own mental clarity here, and just to allow the body to just heal up itself. Recently in WWE, you have Edge and Daniel Bryan. They took like 8 years off.
I'm so glad Edge made his comeback.
And it was such a
beautiful comeback too.
Me too. And I'm so happy for him, because every time that when you watch him on TV, his happiness just exudes right through that screen. I mean, you can feel it. He's very happy being back, because I feel that same way too. I'm happy to be back in the ring and back up to show level, to where I'm operating on a main event level now too. And that, because that's an energy that, having that flow through me once again, and being able to also interact with the fans, which are now coming back in live audiences. And right now, wrestling is getting even more popular than what it was. You have WWE SummerSlam coming up. You have a big AEW event, Rampage, coming up, that's going to be on TV. They're based in Chicago, with probably a big surprise is going to happen on that one. And it's more popular than ever.
Oh no, it definitely is. I just wanted to say hi to Rocco. He made it in, and he was in the chat saying what's up to everybody. So hey, thanks for stopping by. Let's see here. Maria said this is an awesome stream. She's loving it.
Oh, it's nice. Yeah. Hi, Our Life in Colors. Yeah, I remember you from Tiffany's channel, I believe.
Said, do I have a call-in number tonight? No, I'm just kind of taking questions for with Terry here. If anybody has any questions about his career, we're about to get into an interesting story about Aaron Moriarty to kind of wrap up our segment. I figured that would be a good tie-in for the end of it.
And I have a couple of really great insights that I've actually came to after that meeting that we had too. So really very much looking forward to piecing this whole story together here, and going over how we met and where we are now, and everything in between the meantime and the between time.
I just found out from one of our guests, Rocco, that he also records music. We were talking about everybody's musical ability in our small community that we have.
Right? Why is everyone a musician? Like,
no, I like it. I like that everybody wants to.
Coincidence. Come on.
This is something I've always liked. Is I like people that dabble in a little bit of everything, right, to figure out the things that they like. You don't necessarily have to just like one thing. You can be passionate about many things.
Right.
I mean, you might only be excellent at one thing. I mean, that's possible. I've been passionate about a lot of things I'm not good at. I feel like that's okay though. I feel like it's a healthy practice.
The jack of all trades, as they say, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I prefer the Jake of all trades.
Ah, yeah. Music. Oh my.
So, how should we go into this? Should we talk about the dream and how it started, and then we can kind of tie everything together?
Yeah. Okay. So, okay. I've had psychic experiences pretty much all my life, so we can start there. Then I was professionally trained as a psychic, and back in we have the date for this, 2014, I believe. I had a dream, a very vivid dream, to where I was in a large arena type community place with a skylight overhead, and it seemed like a convention hall, like a futuristic convention hall, and I knew that it was in the future. And I found myself sitting down at a small table, to where it was me and someone sitting across from me, and we were playing a game. And I took great note of what this person looked like in my dream. And I noticed this coif styled up, like 1950s kind of hairdo, like a rockabilly kind of thing, and these thick glasses, like eyeglasses, and jawline. And again, I was playing this game with this gentleman that I took note of, and this game was about you little UFOs flying around. And I immediately woke up. I figured, oh my goodness, I just had a very vivid dream. I need to remember this. So I get my notebook out and immediately start writing those down. And I even showed those notes on one of your programs. The first time that I just by chance was able to get a hold of you on one of your shows, that I believe it was a Saturday morning.
Yeah, it was a random show. I don't usually do Saturday morning shows.
Yeah,
like it just worked out.
And
in the weirdest circumstance.
It was a Saturday that I had nothing going on. I didn't have any shows at all booked. I had nothing. I was just going to woke up that day, nice sunny day out. I was just going to enjoy a nice summer day, really. But I came on YouTube and noticed that I was just going to put some music on like I normally do. But I noticed you were on, and I thought, hey, this would be a great opportunity to maybe reach out to someone that I know is connected with Erin Moriarty, because I had this realization that Erin Moriarty, who is a host of his own show here on YouTube, the Truth Quest, of which I'm a fan of and a regular watcher of, as well you are, Jacob.
Yes.
Yeah. I had a realization. He mentioned this in one of his previous shows, that he used to work for, let's just say, a major toy manufacturer. And when he said that, it just, boom, light went off like, oh my goodness, this is the guy that I had the dream of all the way clear back in 2014, where I was playing this game based on UFOs for. So then I tell you this story and even show you the pieces to and the parts to it, and you connect me up with Erin Moriarty.
Oh, yeah, let me fill everybody in.
Okay.
So meanwhile, I'm hearing this story from Terry. I'm like,
yeah,
wow, this is really interesting. And I start messaging Erin on the side. I'm like, Erin, like let me pick your brain for a minute. And I start messaging him, and I'm telling him the story that you're telling me. Yeah. And he's like, hold on, give me a minute. And he gets ready to jump on with me, and he's happy to jump on. And then you get to tell Erin the story. You explain the story to Erin, and then what does Erin present to us?
A game about UFOs.
And if you know Erin, he talks about everything he's doing at the time, whether it's his clothing line that he just released on his channel, or whether it's, you know, a different game that he's working on. I've never heard of him talk about this game.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden,
I haven't either.
It sparked this interest that he was like, oh, I do have a game that correlates with exactly what Terry's talking about.
Wow.
A UFO game that I haven't talked about.
Wow.
And Terry, just to give a little bit more backstory, you ended up making your own version of this game because it was so passionate to you. You even documented when you did it. I like your note of paper that you wrote down too about it.
Right. Yeah. I copyrighted it and all. Yeah. The exact date, the time that I had the dream. Again, you know, I have psychic training here. I've done this before. I know when I'm having a vivid dream, and I know when I need to take note of it. But yeah, here's the original note. Yeah. March 8th, 2014. Yeah. And here is the little prototype that I made up. See how it looks like a UFO?
And they sit in that rack, don't they?
What's that?
They sit in that rack, don't they?
Yeah. And so I came up with this concept of how it works on like an erector set, to where it moves as space, each space like that. And the playing field also works as an erector set, to where you build it as you go along. So the spaceships or the UFOs keep going up until they reach their point of destination. And it goes around like that. There's also some other things involved that I'm still developing. Again, I haven't touched any of this since a couple of days after I had that dream. What did I do? I went down to the local hardware store and just started going up and down the aisles and just looking for bits and pieces. How can I take what I saw in my dream and interpret that into something that's in the real life third dimension? And I had a realization, Jacob, and I just thought of this earlier tonight, to where that, again, this was clear back in 2014, right? Okay. So back in 2014, you had limitations of what are the building materials that you have in that time.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of a erector set, right? That's what I came up with. What do we have now that we didn't back then? 3D printers. In my dream, the pieces were made of plastic, because of course they were. The game was mass produced. So of course they're going to be plastic. But back in 2014, my mind back then just wouldn't be able to comprehend, well, how can I build a prototype for this game out of plastic? I can't build out of plastic. Who can? You can now.
So now I need you to come up with some blueprints for me, because I have a friend with a 3D printer, and we're going to get to the next step of this game.
Aaron Moriarty mentioned on his last show, or like just a couple of shows ago, that he just so happens to know someone that has a 3D printer, of which I had the thought before he even said that of, of course, what it needs to be in plastic. It can be 3D printed. Yeah, I know, Tiffany, that you. We are through the looking glass here, right?
Yes.
We're through Project Pegasus. Huh. My son has one. Your son has a 3D printer.
Nice. Or maybe an erector set, one or the other.
Or yeah.
The chat's a little behind our talking, but
yeah, Tinker Toys and Lincoln Logs.
Oh man, I miss Lincoln Logs. Oh yeah, God,
me too.
Talk about a good
I still have my original set from when I was a kid. Yeah,
those and just regular Legos. I don't know why, that was just so much fun. I don't know, if you had a creative mind, the simplest toys could be so much fun.
Oh yeah. I never had Legos. I had the erector set, Tinker Toys, and Lincoln Logs. The closest thing that I had to Legos was like the Super Blocks, like just a bucket.
But,
yeah.
Those were perfect. That's all you needed was the big bucket, and you just go sit in your area and build whatever you felt like building.
Right? Yeah.
Until your brother came in and knocked it all over.
Yeah.
No, we were making we were having this discussion about older toys and how childproof everything is today. I had a wood burning kit when I was younger, and the cord was literally this long, and you had to have it plugged in literally right under the curtains, and you were doing your wood burning set. But we never burnt down the house. Like, surprisingly, we actually all lived through it. I don't know how.
You were one of the lucky ones.
I'm 13 years younger than you, but I was still able to handle a Rector set and stuff like that without killing myself. I didn't have to try to swallow the small pieces.
Yeah. Little tiny screws, right? Yeah.
Yes. What was the other one with the pegs? I can't remember that game either.
Tiddlywinks?
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Might have been that one. But there was always ones where you do constructing ones were always fun.
Mousetrap.
Oh, that's a good one. I haven't thought about that in a while either.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was big into the Candyland and all the old school games. They were always fun.
Yeah.
Chutes and ladders. You could always go simple.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Hey, there we go.
Well, Terry, I have to admit, man, I appreciate you coming on tonight. We got to do this again soon. Yeah. I feel like we could go for a while just talking about wrestling. We could do an easy 2 hours.
Totally. Totally.
But yeah, there's 100 more questions I have with wrestling. But so offline, I want you to send me the info on this Decatur show.
Yeah.
I really am interested in. I might see if I can do it.
Yeah.
See if I can come out and check out your work.
Yeah. Yes. Totally. You would be most welcome.
Oh yeah, no, it would be a great time, and
excellent.
Oh yeah, I would have a good time doing it.
Excellent.
Vector, that's a good game as well. Well, I'm glad everybody had fun, and hopefully you guys will catch our later show. We're going to be doing the Penna's Perspective following this one. So it sounds like we might even be able to get a show set up with Rocco either tonight or tomorrow as well. So. Yeah, I'm glad everybody's doing good. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the show, and hopefully we sparked that interest back into wrestling. Because
check it out on
there's
TV.
Nostalgia to it.
Check it out on TV, but most importantly, please, I guarantee you, no matter where you are in the country, even in the world, I guarantee you there is a professional wrestling promotion that is performing near you. You don't have to drive very far. They're going to be in your local high schools, your local gymnasiums, your local National Guard armories. They're performing, and if you go to these shows, you're going to see the up-and-coming stars of tomorrow before they become the big stars, working for the big promotions, and it's always interactive with the audience, and I guarantee you're going to have a great time. Check out your local wrestling promotion. Go to one of their shows or several of their shows.
Oh yeah, when you're looking for something to do, and it's not a high ticket item where it's entertainment for several hours. Yeah, I mean it's just another form of going and seeing a sports game or anything else.
Yep.
But before we do go, Terry, I also wanted to jump on some of your other things you do for work.
Yeah, definitely. We can plug perfectweddingpackages.com, which has been recently updated. Perfectweddingpackages.com is my company that I've owned for several years now, where we produce sound and lighting for special events, including weddings, including ceremonies, as well as receptions, where we help lead the bride and groom through the day filled with all of the traditions and the new experiences, playing all of their requests, providing DJ, sound system, photo booth, backdrops, beautiful lighting, and of course the all-important planning guides to make sure that all of the details are in place. Again, that's my company, perfectweddingpackages.com, if you're getting married or having a special event. And we are actually launching this company. It's going to be nationwide, so no matter where you are here in the continental United States, we'll be happy to take care of you. Perfectweddingpackages.com. Jacob, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh, no, let me dig into that a little bit more. How long have you been doing the DJing as well?
I actually started the day after my 18th birthday, clear back in 1994, where I was hired to produce a dance with sound and lighting for a fundraiser. And it essentially just went from there, where I would have teen dances, high school dances that would eventually lead to, hey, you remember this DJ that we had this really fun time with over at this teen dance? Well, now we're older, we're getting married. we need someone for our wedding to come on over. So it just led from there to where now it's a full-time company, to where it's not just me, but I'm also hiring out for other DJs and helping put food on their plate and on their table, because I know a lot of really great DJs that actually do care about the bride and groom when it comes to their wedding and making sure that they get exactly what they want, and of course their absolute dream come true wedding.
Oh yeah, the presentation of that and making sure everything's coordinated right and just flows into the next segment of the party, the wedding, the everything that's involved is
exactly
coordinated. It's similar to refereeing. You have to keep this performance going, and you have to be totally involved in order to make it go the way it's supposed to go.
Yeah. I have had to put my referee skills to work at weddings. Countless times. Okay, more times than I want to go into. Let's go back to pro wrestling. All right. Listen, I prefer my violence to be scripted. All right.
Well, that's a beautiful way to end it.
Yeah,
I appreciate the time today, Terry. And everybody check out Terry's Perfect Wedding Packages.com. And you guys can learn a little bit more about some of the other things he does, as well as refereeing. So thank you again for your time, and everybody have a beautiful night.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.